We're here on the stage at the Paradiso, and we thought it might be a good idea to talk to you, the fans, about some of the email questions that we get a lot, some of which are about Walter's equipment, his guitars, and his life. So I'm going to start asking some of these questions to Walter. Walter, would you tell us a little bit about your guitar?
A little bit about my guitar. Well, this is my old Fender Stratocaster that I bought brand new off the shelf in Costa Mesa, California, in right around January of 1974. When I bought this guitar, it was pure white, same color as the pickguard. So this is basically what 30 years of being on the road will do for a guitar. It's sort of done that for me too. This is what's left of the original finish right here. And that's because my arm keeps the smoke off the guitar. The rest of this is smoke from nightclubs. 30 years of nightclubs right there. I've played this guitar every day for 30 years.
Have you had any modifications done to it?
Boy, not really. I've had this tone control hooked up to this pickup because on a regular Stratocaster, this pickup, which is the bright pickup where all the treble sound comes from, can get a little bright, a little grating sometimes. And there is no tone control on that pickup normally. So I've had them take the tone control from this pickup and add it to that pickup. Other than that, it's all stock. It has had probably 14 fret jobs, though. It's had the frets replaced about 14 times.
That's because you burn.
That's because I go through frets. I get the biggest ones on there I can get. Big, thick ones, and every year and a half, maybe 2 years, I need them redone.
What about your rig, your amplifier?
I use this Mesa Boogie Mark IV. I've been using Mesa Boogies for years and years. When they first started, they had an amp called a Mark I. I had one of those. Then they came out with the Mark II. I got one of those. They came out with the Mark III and so forth. And I got this Mark IV, I would say, maybe 12 years ago. And I've used this one. This is my main one right here. It's been through the ringer, but it's an awesome amplifier. I just basically use the amp and the guitar. I don't use any effects. It's all done with the guitar and manipulating of the strings and the tone controls and the volume button. And when you have an amp like this, it makes it easy to do that. You don't need any foot pedals or any overdrives or anything. You get yourself a good Mesa Boogie and you're there.
A little bit of talent might help too.
Well, I'll leave that up to the individual.
Walter, you said you use no effects. I noticed there's a big box behind me here. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. This is the one that is right back behind you, that large black speaker cabinet there. That's a guitar Leslie speaker that was made by the Mesa Boogie Company. They don't make them anymore. I hope they're going to start again. They made 100 of those. Santana has a couple of them. I have a couple of them. What it is a 12-inch speaker that revolves. It spins. And it's much like the Leslie speaker that the Hammond B3 organ is using. And it gives kind of a natural chorus effect. And I don't use it very often. I use it a lot of times for chords. It makes the chords a little bit beefier, a little bigger. Sometimes if I've been bending the strings quite crazily and the guitar is going a little bit out of tune, I'll kick that thing on. But I have a foot switch up here which will either turn it on or off, or it will make the speaker revolve fast or slow. And that's about the closest I get to using any effects, is that thing right there. Our old drummer named it the Groove Buster because when it's spinning, he could hear the spinning, and sometimes it's not always in time with the song. But so we call it the Groove Buster. I love it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Okay, you play other guitars too.
Yes, I do. On this tour, I'm currently using as another electric guitar a Viget. I'll get that for you. I'll show you. This was custom made for me by Patrice Viget in Paris, France. And he makes beautiful guitars. Our bass player is using a Viget bass on this DVD. And he did customize this a little to my specifications. He moved the volume knob for me because I like to play with my pinky finger wrapped around the volume knob. And he also added a little bit of radius to the neck to make the neck a little bit more like my Fender neck that I'm so used to. But it's a beautiful guitar, and I love playing it, and I'm very much in the debt of Patrice Viget for giving me this beautiful guitar. And I have another Viget in America that I use when I'm on tour over there, and I'm very happy with them.
Okay, and you were also playing an acoustic, I noticed.
Yeah, I'll get that for you too. This is a Carvin acoustic made by the Carvin Guitar Corporation of San Diego. And when I decided to do some acoustic playing on this CD and DVD, I went out looking for a good acoustic guitar to use. And I went to the NAMM show in Anaheim, California, and that's the show where all the musical instrument companies show off their new models. And it's not open to the public. You have to be a member to get in. And I walked around there and played a lot of acoustics and found out that the Carvin played the best. And I went and spoke with them, and they've given me a couple of these to use, and it's a beautiful, beautiful acoustic guitar, and it plays like butter. Plays wonderfully, and I want to thank the Carvin Corporation for giving me such nice guitars to play.
All right. I know that a lot of blues players use very heavy gauge strings, and you're a little different that way. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your choice of strings?
Well, there seems to be a thing in the blues community, this hype that you have to use the thickest strings you can get and then tune the guitar down so that it makes it able to bend the strings. I used the thinnest strings I can get, and I tune it up. No, I'm just kidding. But I do use 9-gauge strings, 9 through 42. And people go, well, how do you get a good tone out of that? And I think that the tone comes from the attack and from the fingers and from the heart and soul of the player. Billy Gibbons of ZZ Top has been known to use 8s on his guitar, and he gets a beautiful guitar tone. So the tone is from the player, not the thickness of the string. That's just my own opinion. I'll leave it up to you to make up your own mind.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about your equipment before we go on to other things?
Not really. I'm in certain ways with equipment, I'm kind of a traditionalist. I don't go out and look for new things. I've used the same boogie amp here for years, the same speaker cabinet, the same guitar. I like to find one thing that works well for me and stick with it. Hence my choice in wives.
Walter, I've noticed that, and I'm sure the fans have because we get questions about this, there's hints of spirituality in the lyrics of your songs. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, it's in there. I'm a Christian, and I'm not the kind of Christian to go out and push it on people, but I do believe Jesus was my Savior. I believe that there's a battle in this world between good and evil, and between darkness and light, so to speak, opposing forces. And when I write songs, I try to be aware of that, and I try to sort of be a standard bearer for the light. There's enough darkness out there in the music world, and I'm trying to be on the other end of that.
To something different now. You came out of many, many bands that you played with. You had a career over many, many years with different bands, and then you went solo, and you're now doing your own thing and have been doing your own thing for many, many years. Do you want to talk a little bit about the difference and what kind of bands you came out of and what you've noticed is the difference between being a sideman and a band leader?
Sure. I had a long career as a sideman with a lot of well-known acts. I was a sideman with John Lee Hooker, Big Mama Thornton, Percy Mayfield, Joe Tex, the soul singer, Bobby Hatfield of the Righteous Brothers, Detroit Jr., Louisiana Red, a lot of people. I can't even quite remember them all. And then I was 4 years with Canned Heat, where I was the lead guitar player and the harmonica player with Canned Heat. And then I did almost 5 years with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers as a guitar player. And so I had a long career as a sideman, and I was very successful at it, and it was great fun. But I left John Mayall in 1989 and started my own band. And there are some marked differences between being a sideman and being a band leader. And I think I was very lucky to watch John Mayall, because he's one of the greatest band leaders of all time. And that's a talent unto itself, like Duke Ellington, Count Basie. Not necessarily people who were known as being musicians, even though, of course, they all are, but people who are known for being able to get a good band together, keep the band happy, keep the band fulfilled out there on the road, and find the right combination of musicians to produce that chemistry that you need. And so I watched John, and I studied his technique of band leading, and I'm trying to sort of imitate that with my own band. And as a sideman, you don't really have any pressure. I remember doing large shows with John, and all I had to do was walk up on stage and play some solos and have a good time. The pressure was really on John. He was the front man. The eyes were on him. And now with my own band, I've stepped into that role, and now I get more pressure, I get more to do. I have to provide the musical direction, I have to provide the songs, and the eyes are on me. But I also get greater rewards out of it. I get to play my own music the way I want to play it, and I get to play as much guitar as I can stand. And so that's the difference right there.
Yeah, I can imagine that you're not going to go back to being a sideman anytime soon. Sounds like you're having a good time as a band leader.
I'm having a great time as a band leader, but there are some times in my band where Joey's throwing sticks and Sammy's ripping that I feel like a sideman in my own band. So,
well, you got good players.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to have. And you have to keep them working in order to keep them in the band. That's one thing I learned as a band leader is you find some good players, you got to keep them working, or they're going to go to somebody else who will keep them working.
Right. There's a new song on this new CD, DVD project that's called The Life That I Chose, and it talks about the dilemma between going on the road and having a family. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, that's a very autobiographical song. I wrote it on this tour in the van. Took me about 5 minutes. I was sitting in the back of the van thinking about the fact that before I fell in love and became the father of 3 beautiful children, before that, going on the road was a gas. It was a blast. I was very happy to go out on tour and stay out there. I do like being a gypsy, so to speak. But then when you have a family that you have to leave at home, it takes on a whole different aspect that I sort of hadn't counted on. And now I find it's really important in my life to try to balance the two, not just to be a traveling musician and living out my dreams, but also taking care of my kids and making sure that my kids know who I am and have time with me. You know, I don't want to miss out on that.
Right. And I do think one of the great advantages to your lifestyle is that when you are home, you're home 24 hours a day, and you don't have to go to work and sit in traffic and come home and be grumpy. You can really devote your time to your family. So in a sense, it's a very split up lifestyle, but there's advantages to it, don't you find?
There sure, of course, yeah. When I'm at home, I don't have to work a day job and go off at 6 in the morning and get home at 6 at night and be tired. I'm there 24 hours a day for my family. And so I might only be home 5 or 6 months of the year, but when I'm there, I'm completely there, and I'm there for them.
Right. This new DVD, CD has all new material that our idea was to record in front of an audience instead of going in the studio and taking a lot of time and polish it up and getting it very nice polished. What do you think of that? How do you like it?
I think it's a great idea. I think it does have some advantages and some disadvantages, like most things. There's a couple of tunes we're doing on here that I would have liked to polish up in the studio. What you're getting with some of these songs is really bare bones versions. There's 4 of us, we're playing the songs, it's live. There's no chance to go back and overdub a rhythm guitar or throw on some horn line or something like that. You get the band playing these songs in their original form, much like with a studio CD. This is how it would be when we were to go into the studio. This is the form the songs would have before we start throwing the studio tricks onto them. Mm-hmm. You know.
So it's a little more raw.
It's a little more raw, and but for certain of the tunes, a little more raw is a plus, I think. And for a couple of the tunes, maybe it's not such a plus, but I'll leave that up to the listener to decide.
All right. For your last question, I would like to ask you, what's your favorite thing about playing in front of an audience, playing live, doing your thing?
As long as I've been doing this, and I started playing on the road in bands in 1969, so I've been at it a while. And as long as I've been doing this, I've always thought of myself as a live performer. That's where I live and breathe, is on stage. I feel the most natural. I feel the most at home on stage. I like to be able to play and sing and look down and look people in the eye and actually feel that communication, and sometimes see in their eyes that what I'm doing is having an effect. It's moving them. I think music has to be an emotional experience, and when I can see that happening before me, it's just an incredible feeling.
Anything else you'd like to say to the fans before we finish?
Well, this band of mine now has been going for 14 years, and we've got some hardcore fans out there, and I love you, and I thank you for supporting my music all these years. And as long as the good Lord grants me the ability to keep playing and singing, I will keep doing it for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.